so I will call the WSESD board meeting to order at 6:02. The meeting of the WSESD will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or of the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by email. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary to time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. Okay, so I motion to amend the agenda to move the motion for the WSESD board to continue the use of the professional legal services of Dinse PC regarding matters related to the current and ongoing sexual abuse investigation to 6:50 p.m. and the executive session that is listed at the end of the agenda to be moved to 7 p.m. I believe that there may have been two other changes. Sean, did you have something?
Yes, I would just like to notify the district that the Independent Budget Review Committee is looking for an individual to volunteer from the town of Putney. So if anybody knows any individual from that town, and Christina's has a comment, which I'm sorry, I can't hear.
And Brattleboro. And Brattleboro too.
Oh, Brattleboro also. Oh, yes, thank you very much. So this is an independent review committee that made a very detailed and comprehensive report last year. And I think so the town of Brattleboro and the town of Putney certainly use involvement in that process. Thank you.
John?
Deborah has a hand up.
Okay, Deborah.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute. I would also like to make a motion to amend the agenda. Can I do it at this time?
Yes.
Okay, so I move to amend the agenda to include an executive session, an additional executive session to discuss a personnel issue involving board directors and student representatives.
So
I second that.
okay, so it's been, did you second her motion?
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor of Deborah's motion to amend the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so now I will, yes.
Sorry, I'm not on a regular device. It's Michelle. What is the indication for going into an executive session under that though? Did Deborah say personnel?
It is personnel, student representative mentors. And it is discussing specific students. So that would be the reason why we would go into executive session. Thank you, Michelle, for your question and request for clarification. So all those in favor, actually, I made the motion to amend the agenda regarding the motion for the WSESD board to continue the use of the professional legal services of Dinse PC and moving that to 6:50 and moving the executive session for the confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body, moving that to 7 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. All those in favor of, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The agenda is amended. So we go right to the clerk's report. We have the approval of the minutes of October 11th, 2022. All those in favor of, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So made.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 11, 2022, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we move on to motion to amend minutes from August 9, 2022. Is there a motion to amend those minutes? Helen, do I just? Okay. So does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, so there is no second. Is it just, that motion just, okay. Motion is defeated. Thank you. We move on to the presentation of student issues. We have 10 minutes allotted for this. Tim, would you like to? This is for the
Yeah,
advisory committee.
I'll just speak to this for a few minutes. Upon the recommendation of the Student Advisory Committee and our two student representatives, there's a suggestion to restructure our board meetings. So there's a 10-minute period for students to speak on issues, questions related to board business for the WSESD. We thought it was a great idea. Just as the public has a period for comments, this is specifically for students. So, and it'll be treated just as a public, not necessarily engaging in a discussion, but hearing you. It's another sign of the board's focus on a student-centered approach.
Okay, so is there anyone who wanted to speak, whether here or online?
As I think I'm just gonna say, I'm super excited. I know Kai and I are both super excited to work with our student advisory committee. We have meetings scheduled for twice a month now, so we'll be working hard with them and yeah, look forward to bringing stuff to the board.
Anyone else online? Oh, Mark.
I attended the VSBA conference last Thursday and Friday, and the full afternoon of Friday was focused on student voice and different initiatives that are happening around the state. So I feel like I can make some connections for our students in the work that we're doing with some school boards and student representatives up north. The students actually came to the conference and presented their work around policy, their work around community involvement for a good 3 hours. And it was really the highlight of the conference. So some very impressive work happening around the state. And this could be a great opportunity to make some connections with other students who are doing similar work and try to anticipate the challenges that they've overcome.
Just one more note. This is open to all students, K through 12, not just student advisory folks, not just student reps. So we hope that you take advantage of this opportunity.
Sort of a question, I guess. Is there any sense that having a separate session for student input somehow negates the fact that students are also part of the public? Right? So at least in the minutes, it should reflect that this isn't a sense trying to make any distinction that students are somehow different from the public, right? By establishing a separate session for them.
Thank you, Paul. No, so this, this is not to prevent any students who want to make comments or questions, concerns, et cetera, during the public comment period, but this is just an attempt to allow a specific time that the students are able to voice concerns, share things that maybe, you know, from their perspective, et cetera, because they are really the focus of why we're here. So it was just, you know, but they're welcome to participate in the public comment period as well. Thank you all for that question, Tim. All right. Anyone else? Okay, well, Lana?
Yes, hi. I just wanted to say, it's really important to make room for marginalized voices. And unfortunately, students are marginalized voices. So having that extra time set aside right up front sort of guides our discussion. And it doesn't negate the fact that students are members of the community. It makes room and space for them when adults take up a lot of the room.
Thank you, Lana. Yes.
I was just going to suggest maybe dedicating that piece to like an actual student report that could even be put together in that committee, to bring forth concerns, but also things just going on in the school to try and, create yet another bridge from the board into our school from the student perspective.
Not a bad idea.
And maybe if we could work on publicizing this at least to our high school more.
Yeah.
I know Kai and I both want to be in person and make the rounds around the school. But
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We talked about you guys taking turns visiting advisories. So
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, thank you for that. So we're going to move on to presentation BUHS administration team and faculty council regarding the first weeks of school.
Okay, well, turn it over to the faculty council. Want to introduce the group?
Yeah. So I reached out to my faculty council a couple weeks ago. It was a Friday afternoon of a 3-day weekend, and so we weren't able to present at the last meeting. I asked them, but we met this week. I had my own child's parent teacher conference, but Tracy and Hannah were there and filled me in, and they took great notes. And these are 3 of the members of my faculty council. Mike Sostak, who is our restorative justice coordinator. Noah Ginsburg is a social studies teacher, and Andrew Parsons is a math teacher. I view the faculty council as really a place for me to go to as an administrator and get feedback and sort of like a check-in system with, my faculty. They're important stakeholders. So I asked them if they could provide some representation just to give the board an update on how things are going, and I got it. So I will turn it over to them.
Great. Thank you, Bessie. Is there any preference on where I stay or stand?
Whatever works.
So I prepared some remarks on behalf of the faculty council. So my name is Noah Ginsburg. I'm a social studies teacher at BUHS. I'm here tonight on behalf of UHS Faculty Council. Faculty Council exists to address faculty concerns, operational adjustments, or other issues impacting the district. We are a voice for BUHS faculty and serve as a bridge between faculty and administration. I've only been at BUHS since last year, and I'm still actually new to teaching, but I just want to say that I truly look up to teachers, paras, custodians, admin, and all staff at BUHS who come to work every day and make BUHS a great place that it is. There is real change in the atmosphere at the school. Student behavior is noticeably better than last year. There are fewer students cut classes, hallways are clear during class time, and all this allows teachers to focus on their job, teaching and inspiring students. Having 3 people doing the job, so 4 people is not sustainable, but the fact that Cassie, Tracy, and Hannah are doing an exceptional job is a testament to their dedication and leadership. They deserve our praise and more support. Faculty continuously praise leadership and contribute to leadership efforts and are proud of the school climate. There is no doubt that every day is an opportunity to continue to improve, but I don't think anybody in the building would say we've not made significant progress in multiple areas. The response to recent events has been handled in a way that brought our school community together. We've had school-wide assemblies, recently had our first combined advisory, a way to continue to facilitate community conversation to provide students an opportunity to ensure their voices are heard. Faculty Council looks forward to continuing these updates during future meetings, and Mike Sostak would like to add a few words as well.
Some of you may recall, I think all of you recall, it was a really tough year for us last year. And at the end of the year, the Faculty Council in June, or actually May, did a survey of the faculty. And we had a pretty good response. I think around 80% of our faculty responded. And out of that came action steps that we said we were going to take this year to try to make the school better. And just quickly, those action steps were staff-led committees for key decisions that the school made, collaborative decision-making in terms of us being directly involved with the management team, the administration team, staff-run meetings, as opposed to just admin-led meetings, a centralized communication facility, and finally, a limited number of new initiatives. I can say on all 5 of those, I won't go through where we are with everything, but every one of those we've made progress on, we've done something with. Particularly, I wanted to focus on the collaborative decision-making. That I've been in this school 16 years and I've never seen a management team that has gotten us so involved, faculty, students, in just trying to make the best decisions for our school. And I'm really proud of the way it's been going. The other thing I'd just like to add is that as the restorative justice guy, I sort of, in some ways, am a barometer on the school about what's happening. And I have had far fewer referrals this year than last year. I had more referrals than I ever had in my life in this school. This year, I have much fewer referrals. I still have referral, which you would in any environment, any school or any business where you have a bunch of people together. But those referrals are much less critical. They're much less, really traumatic events, fights and things like that. So for me, my barometer is sitting in my place says that things are really better. They truly are better. And so anyway, that's my summary of where we're at.
Thank you. Does anyone have any specific questions?
Just in the last meeting that we had, Cassie, you said how the faculty have really stepped up to improve the climate at BUHS. And we just keep hearing again and again how they really have indeed stepped up to go beyond their job descriptions to handle a myriad problems in school.
I mean, there's no doubt the educators daily go above and beyond what's expected of them. And that's sort of just unspoken and known. But I can say, being able to collaborate with faculty, go to them if I'm not sure about something and I know a decision I'm making is going to weigh more on them than me. Like, I should be asking for their input. I should be allowing them to be part of that conversation when I can. And I think back to when I was a teacher, I was my best teacher when I felt most supported by my administration. And so in me supporting them, I feel like that's working towards that enables them to be student focused and student centered, which is what we want to be. And so I feel like we support each other. I mean, that's big for me. So.
I do have a question for Mike. The faculty report that you referred to, they said that the faculty called for a limit on the number of new initiatives. I take that to mean to become much more focused in the initiatives that you're taking. I wonder if you can mention a couple of the initiatives that the faculty are really getting around this year.
Well, I think the principal initiative it's not really an initiative, it's a different approach to doing things, which is the collaboration. In fact, I would say, and you guys jump in here, but I would say at this point, we haven't really taken on any new initiatives. We are really focusing on making work what we already have. I would say that's the new initiative. It's not the new initiative. You guys agree with that, or?
Yeah, it's boundaries training maybe.
Okay, well, why don't you talk about that? Good talk.
So continuing work we're doing is making sure that we're having the staff collaborate and continue to look into the ethics and teaching boundaries that are generated by the WSESU, our union. A group of us were trained in it, and so in the past, I think we've had 2 faculty meetings training, and during a PE day, we were able to present these and have the faculty go in small groups, speak about them, come back, collaborate about it, and we keep these posters up in our mailroom now. We reference back to it pretty often.
Yeah, and this is the training that Ricky Davidson came and presented about. That's our continuing Act One training throughout the year. You know, and the posters in the mailroom, Ricky came to me after and he's like, you might want to peek at those. There's some there's some low hanging fruit that you know, admin, changes that staff want or things that they feel like could improve that could easily be accomplished. And it was on a sticky note, you know, so just connecting with the staff in that sense. And I think I can speak to the trauma informed practices, that was work that was started years ago that we're getting back to basics, you know, trying to become more of a restorative school. We say we have the tools. We just have to bring them back and really be working intentionally to have that be our focus. So.
And this is not a new initiative, but it's worthy of mention that we are continuing putting more and more emphasis on our diversity and equity work that we're doing, and getting more and more students involved, and
that staff is asking for.
And the staff has been asking for. So again, not a new initiative, but really trying to put some focus on initiatives we've had before that we needed more attention on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you are heading up the diversity and equity committee this year, Andrew. So
one of the teacher leaders.
Yes.
So staff.
yeah. So I mean, it's all intertwined, the work that we have to do.
Nice.
Any of the board have questions?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I want to just thank you for such an informative update. And I just want to acknowledge too that I heard that the 3 administrators are not sustainable. So, you know, since they're covering for 4 positions. And I just wonder if there's been any thought on that or any action. I think we're looking for assistant.
Yeah, you can chime in, but
It's posted. We've had some applicants apply and withdraw for a variety of reasons. I think it's a challenging time of year to find somebody that is not under contract. I think also Tracy, Hannah, and I work really well together, and I think we have such a great relationship with the faculty. And so I want to be very intentional of, you know, if we find somebody and who we bring into that position, that it works with the model that we set up. So while it's not sustainable, it's important, I feel like, that we're not just, you know, finding a body to fill that position. It's important to our school community. So while it's harder with 3, and we're going to keep making that attempt to find someone. It has to be done in the proper way that's going to work for our school.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Anyone on board member or member of the public? Okay, so one more time, I will ask if anyone has any questions before we move along. Okay, thank you very much for that. We are going to move along to public comment on non-agenda items, and we're going to allot 10 minutes for that. Anyone making a comment can expect a response that falls into one of the following categories: receive an acknowledgement of the comment with no further action planned, receive an immediate response by the board chair or administration. Administration would be directed to contact and respond to the person. Clarification sought from the administration for a specified meeting. The topic would be added to a specified future board agenda. The matter would be referred to an executive session. A public hearing would be held on the matter. Before we jump through, I did say that I would respond to a public comment that was not at the end of the last meeting. We weren't able to address that, so I did get an email, and the email was in regards to pet waste stations. And so dogs are not allowed on school property, and signage at the schools reads "No dogs allowed," or something indicating that. The only exception would be certified therapy dogs that work with the community. And so we actually have a policy on that, and that is F35, school animal policy. I welcome anyone to go onto the WSESU WSESD website and look under policies and you will find that one. So now we will move on to.
Ricky Rosati has a hand.
Sure. Ricky?
Thank you for responding to that concern of mine about the waste stations for dogs, because I have a service dog and I was like one of the first students on my college campus to have a service dog. And then so like I think that like even if you don't allow, like I need to look at that policy for the school and really study it a lot more. Thank you for directing me to it. But like I imagine people probably like when the students aren't there probably walk their dogs on the ground. And so it may just help with having sanitization there to offer bags for people. If the school like can't like afford to manage doing that, I am a District 8 representative, and one of the things I've been trying to do is to advocate for more of the waste bag stations in Brattleboro. And this year, the Department of Public Works spent about $500 doing that, and I'm hoping that they double it for next year for more locations. And so if you can't afford to maintain that, like let us know and we can try coordinating that into our future budget.
Thank you.
I also have a second unrelated issue of if there's no further comment about that.
You can go right ahead.
Okay, so I appreciate the email I got from Ms. Anna Daver about how I was concerned about trying to get more information about the universal school meals, because like I didn't think I could really articulate well in an email about my concern about if it's really ethical to require families with students there to give all of these really personal information about their identity, like if they've been in foster care or if they're a migrant or if they've been adopted. And like I just have a hard time like thinking that like that should be a requirement for food. And so like what does everyone else think and feel about that?
Thank you, Ricky, for your concern. I'm going to ask Mark if you have any sort of response to that. I'm not.
I won't speak to the ethics around it, but it's a requirement.
Right.
So that's why we ask those questions.
It's my understanding it has to do with the federal
Yep.
requirements.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So is there any alternative to still qualify for food assistance?
No.
I don't believe so. That's what we're being told.
Is there any goal to work on an alternative so that we aren't coercing people into giving over their private information? Because you know, Vermont has a living history of bureaucratic genocide too, where all of that information is used against people.
I can respond.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
First of all, at this point, no one is filling out the free and reduced lunch application because we're under the COVID Cat 2, no, it's not Cat 2, but universal meals, right? So no one is being asked to fill in that particular application. As well, in Bratttown, we have been under sort of the CEP community eligibility for some time. And again, there, you don't need to family doesn't need to fill out a free and reduced lunch application to be eligible for lunch, right? It's only in the situations when we presumably get past universal meals at some point that that free and reduced lunch application would be required for the outlying towns that aren't on either community eligibility or category 2. We still need families, and I want to put this out to folks. We still need families to fill in a much more general family income survey, because that determines a whole number of things, including the amount of dollars we get for Title I and some other grants, right? So no, you don't have to fill out a free and reduced lunch application, but please do fill out that family income survey when it goes out, because that's really important information for us. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't have a child that attends the school here, but I am trying to plan for a future family, and I would like to see like what our culture is standardizing as normal for food accessibility, and what parents are currently experiencing from that, because food sovereignty and security is really important to me. And so if you could help me understand that by sending me those applications, because like I don't know where to find them.
I can do.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Paul. Ricky, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to, I'm not sure what any other alternatives, if there are other alternatives, but feel free to send us, you can feel free to email whatever suggestions you have. I'm not sure that
I'm
they
not
will.
offering suggestions. I'm asking, how do I access those alternative forums he was suggesting?
Paul Smith said he would send them to you, but I was further saying if you felt that you had identified any other alternatives, to please feel free to send those as a suggestion. Thank you very much for your concerns and your questions.
Can I say one more thing? If we could swing it, all of the schools in Windham Southeast would be CEP schools. It's just that the numbers don't quite work for us right now. That's not to say that they won't work in the future, and that would be a goal.
Well, what is the acronym that he's saying?
Community Eligibility Program, CEP.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Is there?
No other names.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a second. Is there anyone here who would like to?
Had comments on a later agenda item. Would it be more appropriate at a later agenda item of replacing a school board member, or would it be appropriate now in public comment?
You could certainly do it in the public comment. Mark, can I turn it to Mark for just a moment, and then he can.
Okay. Yes, I have an announcement. We have a school board member who has chosen to retire as of this Saturday, this past weekend. So I have a certificate of appreciation and achievement to read tonight. In recognition and appreciation of your dedication and service to the students and families of the Windham Southeast School District, Brattleboro Town School District, and Windham Southeast Supervisory Union during a combined 13 and a half years of service as a school board director. Congratulations, David Scholes, on your retirement.
What good timing. Hi, I'm Christina Naylor from Dummerston, and I served alongside David at the SU level prior to merger, and then as a fellow WSES member during the first merged year, which seems like forever ago at this point. And I just want to say that David was a huge help to me in that first year of merging district and beforehand. First, David knows pretty much everything about school board service and was a virtual Rosetta Stone for getting the job done that first year. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of policies, statutes, Robert's rules, and my personal favorite, the funding formula. Beyond this, David knows the people who can get things done, some of them in this realm, in the district, and in our greater region. David also kept his finger on the pulse of education discussions at the state level and kept us all informed. David used his skills to implement an impressive list of initiatives over the past 14 years, which paint a good picture of who David is. My guess is that David is from the hippie generation, but unlike many of that era, David has continued working to achieve the ideals. I know David will still show up for an old school sign waving protest. I do my research, you all know I do my research, so. But he also does the painstaking work of implementing changes to support racial and social justice and saving the planet, from serving on the Diverse Workforce Development Committee to transitioning schools to solar power arrays and literally dozens of similar initiatives. I can also comment personally on David's commitment to another 60s era idea, gender equity. It's sad that we're still working on that here. But I know gender bias when I see it. But David always treated me as his equal and never co-opted women's ideas as his own. He worked tirelessly to support any idea that made our district better. Also, David was so committed to treating women as equals, he could be just as annoyed with me, a woman, as he could be with any man when we disagreed about something he was passionate about. One of the things I most appreciate about David is his comfort saying he changed his mind, that he listened to people and changed his position. Research indicates it's hard to change people's minds, but as a school board member, modeling lifelong learning and the wisdom to openly admit you have grown in your thought process is a great asset. David, your list of accomplishments shows what can be done if you work hard, listen, learn, and stay passionate. I also appreciate the challenges with school boarding and how frustrating the process can be at times to try to achieve the goals we brought to the job. But I know this will not be a retirement because I know you have not retired your passion for a better community. I look forward to seeing what you do next and hope our paths cross again as you too add recovering school board member to your CV and join the private sector. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Christina.
Hands up, privileged board members first.
Yes.
Lana has a hand up.
I also wanted to take a moment to not so eloquently thank David for everything that he has done. I wouldn't be here on this board if it wasn't for David. He does an amazing job of standing beside me, lifting my voice up, clarifying things when they need clarifying, and he is absolutely always there for support whenever I need him. And I hope and know that he'll continue to show up. And I'm so thankful that I had this opportunity to work with him. Thank you so much, David. And I choked up listening to Christina's.
Jody Normando.
I can't be as eloquent as either Lana or Christina, but Christina beat me to it because I was going to sing the praises of David. I've known David for many, many years, and his work in school board, his work with Vermont School Boards Association. One of the things that he's always on top of what's happening in the legislature, on top of what's happening in the Agency of Education and the State Board of Education. He knows what's coming. He knows his Robert's Rules of Order backwards and forwards. And he is going to be greatly missed. His knowledge and his person is going to be greatly missed. I know these last years have taken a toll, and I hope that he will recover and he will show his face. I think he's on this meeting tonight. And thank you, David, for all you've done.
Consider this: when David Scholes was first elected to the Brattleboro School Board in 2009, many students in kindergarten at that time are now sophomores in college or starting their careers and making their way in the world as young adults. Our own student reps, Ben, Akaya, and Ben, were toddlers at the time, and Barack Obama was beginning his first term. That's how long nearly 14 years is. A big chunk of one's life, a big chunk of his life that included over 300 regular board meetings, over 1,000 committee meetings, and gigabytes of emails. But more important than the length of his tenure is the significant and lasting impact that David has had on our district. Our students, our administration and staff, and our communities are better off today because of David's relentless focus on the health and safety of our students, on innovative teaching and learning strategies, and on fiscal responsibility. The solar arrays that power our buildings, the fresh food our students eat from local farms, our commitment to anti-racism, social justice and diversity, our leadership council, the inclusive SRO committee, whose findings still are leading to positive changes at the high school, and certainly the integrity of the investigation of allegations of sexual assault abuse in our district are just a few of David's many accomplishments. Another achievement that may be harder to measure and more abstract, yet nonetheless significant, and that is the impact he has had on the very culture of this merged board, a culture that indeed values transparency, collaboration, and innovation, a culture that fails to rest on its laurels, and that at once supports and challenges the district to be better and to break with those traditions, approaches, and mindsets that have held us back for too long. Much has been said of late of the role of board members as models for our young people. David has been an exemplary model of a citizen who has given his time, his energy, and his expertise for nothing other than the personal satisfaction of knowing that he has made a positive difference in his community and school district. He has exemplified the kind of civic engagement and spirit of generosity that should motivate all of our students and neighbors. The job of a board member is too often a thankless endeavor. But now, finally, upon his retirement, David Scholes deserves our heartfelt gratitude with the hope that we will continue to benefit from his sage advice as an honored member of the public for many, many years to come.
Yes,
Emily has some.
Emily.
Go ahead, Emily.
Thanks. So many people already said much about David and wonderful words of praise. I just wanted to add or build off a few of the things. David's been an immense kind of mentor for me on the school board, having joined back, I guess, 4 years ago now. But additionally, I just wanted to speak to kind of his overall character as a community builder. I'll share a personal story. So David not only helped me kind of get up to date on all things school board, keep up to date on all things school board, but I know when I first had my daughter, he brought over blueberries from his garden and shared with, us upon the birth of her. Countless things like that David has done for our family, and I'm sure other families in the community, to help make Brattleboro a great place. So I just want to thank David for those kind touches and for all the knowledge you shared with me on the school board and others, and the support you've given to this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I'm not going to go into it because I will. Yeah, so I have to do this. So thank you very much, David. And we expect that we will see you and hear from you going forward as well. Thank you. So we will move back to the public comment period, which is there anyone else in the public who would like to make a comment? Is there anyone else on there? Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. Thank you very much for all the kind words about David. And thank you, Ricky, for your questions. And thank you, Lisa, for your question as well. So we're going to move to unfinished business. We have about 5 minutes before the first amendment needs to be addressed. So I'm going to turn this over to Deborah to address the policy and amendment committee items.
Okay, I'm going to switch the order that's listed in the agenda, if possible, if that's okay. I'm going to start with E8, which is originally titled Tobacco Prohibition. Thanks to Ricky Davidson for pointing out the need to include nicotine, since that is the poison. So we are revising the policy to the title to read Tobacco Nicotine Prohibition, and the first sentence to include the word nicotine, to prohibit the use of nicotine, tobacco, or tobacco substitutes. Those are the changes to that policy. And again, this is this is a second reading for this particular policy, second reading with revision. So we are going into a 10-day warning period. And again, please send comments to members of the Policy and Amendment Committee, Tim Maciel, Liz Adams, Deborah Stanford, and then send it to any board member, please. And your suggestions will be forwarded to the committee. The second policy, again, a second reading with revision, is F39, Students Experiencing Temporary Housing Insecurity. And I'd like to offer thanks to Sarah Quattroro, Carol Rail, and Paul Smith, who is the district coordinator for this program. Sarah was able to join us at the last Policy and Amendment Committee. Paul was there, of course, and I had a long conversation with Carol the couple days before. The revisions to this policy include the need for the student to be unaccompanied and able to request the services that are indicated under this policy, that they do not have to be with a parent or guardian. The second element of this policy with change, with revision, is very specifically indicating immediate enrollment with the understanding that there may be an IEP, an individualized educational plan that would be immediately implemented, even though records may not be evident in the particular moment. So those are the changes for F39. Again, that's a second reading with revision going into a 10-day period. I want to conclude with D7, volunteers and work study students. We are going into a fourth reading with revision. Again, a 10-day warning period. And thanks to the many administrators, community members, board members, whose comments have been essential in clearly establishing the needs of our community, while also understanding that our priority is the safety of every student. So D7, the revisions that the policy committee came up with at the last meeting, and that we are suggesting that this policy will commence on February 1st, 2023. I'm reading from the second page, which is administrative procedures. Commencing on February 1st, 2023, transportation of students within a 35-mile radius of the school may be provided by a volunteer, provided that, and here's this essential point, the volunteer can show intent to complete a full Vermont Crime Investigation Center background check, meaning that volunteer has picked up the necessary paperwork from the district human resource office and has a fingerprinting appointment scheduled with the Windham County Sheriff's Department. That is the revision that we are presenting today for a fourth reading. So that means that by February 1st, a volunteer needs to have established that they are going to engage in a full background check with the Human Resources Department of this district, and in addition, have a fingerprinting appointment already scheduled. That would be by February 1st, 2023. So we are in a fourth reading. I'm keeping this as brief as possible. For D7, volunteers and work study students. We are working hard on this policy with an acknowledgement of all the stakeholders in our community. So again, please send comments to us.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there any very quick comment?
Ricky has a hand up.
Very quick. You have 1 minute, Ricky. We need to address some other.
Well, like I don't like the feeling of being rushed, especially when so many minutes were given just like to applies like a retirement. It's like I have questions that are relevant to now and in the coming future that I would like to be respected.
So Ricky, can I make a suggestion, Ricky? Only because I realize that you probably need a bit more time. Would you be willing to put your comments in an email and send them to me?
I would like to be publicly heard.
Absolutely.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I can't speak for the chair. Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry for anything that I'm aware of, but I haven't heard the previous readings of the nicotine ruling. And so I just wonder, is there an accommodation for that if the student has a prescription for nicotine like gum or patches or lozenges, if that's accepted?
That has not come up in our discussion.
Because like, I know as a student, like I had a nicotine dependency. And so I just hope that accommodation would be respected.
Well, we are in a 10-day reading period, so we will certainly acknowledge your comment. It would be very helpful if you could put that in an email to the committee. My name is Deborah Stanford.
I can email you a request to respect doctor's prescriptions.
That would be great. Please put that in an email. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we are moving on. We are a few minutes late to, I make a motion for the WSESD board to continue to use the professional legal services of Dinse PC regarding matters related to the current and ongoing sexual abuse investigation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
There's a hand up.
Is it a board member? Okay, go ahead.
Mindy Haskins.
Sure.
Hi, I'm just wondering if you removed the update from the agenda, or is this part of that?
The agenda was amended to include this, and then we have an executive session that in 5 minutes, and then we will come back to the update.
So there will be a sexual abuse investigation update tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
We will have some, I'm not sure, I'm not making any comment on what that's going to be, but we moved these two items to a particular time.
Okay, thank you. So after the executive session, you will come back and give an update.
I can't say, I don't know what the content of the update will be, but we will come back and we will address that item on the agenda. Yes.
Are you the one giving the update?
Yes, I would be giving the update. I will be addressing this particular agenda item. So yes.
So, but you don't know the content of what you're going to say yet?
Mindy, thank you very much for your questions. We're going to move on to the motion that has been made and seconded so that we can go forward to the executive session that is scheduled. And when we come back, we will address the next item on the agenda. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the WSESD board continuing the use of the professional legal services of Dinse PC regarding matters related to the current and ongoing sexual abuse investigation, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. So we have 5 minutes before our executive session. So I think we will take a 5-minute break, and I will expect the board members to be back at 7 o'clock so we can very promptly and hopefully very quickly go into executive session. I will make that motion at 7 o'clock.
Madam Chair, is it okay to start moving people into the waiting room?
Yes, well, I can make the motion to go into executive session now. I'm not sure if that's proper, or take the break first.
The break would come before the executive.
So we're going to take the break, and when we come back at 7 o'clock, I'll make the motion. So whatever it is that you feel is appropriate, then thank you. Okay, so we are taking a break at 6:57. Okay, thank you. We are back to order at 7:05. Apologies for being a couple minutes late. I move that. Okay, let's see. Find my notes. I move that the board goes into executive session under 1 VSA 313A1F. Confidential attorney-client communications made for the purposes of providing professional legal services to the body. And this will be related to the sexual abuse investigation. And that is why that, in addition to it being attorney-client communications, that is why it is confidential and appropriate for executive session. And before we go in, when we come out of executive session, we may or may not be taking action. This can't be determined at this moment. We're happy to put people in the waiting room while we do, and we will try to be as efficient and quick as possible while still doing the work of the board. Thank you. So thank you very much. And all those in favor of going into executive session, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We are in executive session at 7:06. And again, we will try to be as quickly as possible. We rose from executive session at 8:13. It is now 8:14. I'm going to go very quickly over the next two items because actually the next let's see. The next one item, because then the next one is administration report. So the sexual abuse investigation update, we have nothing further to report, although the investigation is continuing. I continue to encourage anyone who has information to please consider contacting the investigator. I believe that the administration is already working on other outreach methods.
Are we on?
Yeah, is the Zoom connected?
I am on Zoom and it is recording.
The Zoom meeting is up right now.
Yeah, it's just not on the screen.
Okay. So,
And Mindy is ringing us.
okay. Mindy.
I don't know if it is recording. There's usually an announcement made on Zoom when it's recording again. Sorry.
Yeah,
There was. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
I can see that my screen says it's recording. So I wanted to ask two things. First of all, if some progress has been made, progress. No, actually, I want to know if the kids have been given an outlet or a way to report yet, if that's been communicated to them. I know that something was sent out to families and caregivers, but I'm wondering if that's been communicated directly to students yet. And I'm hoping also that every single adult in the building will have some idea of like a script or a way to receive reports, because who knows which adult, a child or a student, is going to consider a trusted adult and decide to tell. And I guess I'm wondering if there will be any metadata at some point. Again, the numbers of reports that have come in, just to dispel some of the misinformation that seems to swirl around in the absence of information.
Okay, I'll take the first couple, Mindy. The communication that I shared with all families, as you shared, did go out a few weeks back. I'm not sure how many at this point in time. And that was shared on a Friday. After the weekend, the following Monday, the exact same information was shared with all BUHS students. And since then, Cassie and her team have been developing opportunities for engagement with students at the school through the use of the advisory system. Maybe, do you want to add a little bit to that, Cassie?
Sure. So the student support team, which is made up of counselors and student engagement team members and some admin, worked really hard to develop a script for our first community advisory. And that was combining advisories in order to have these sorts of dialogues. And so it's continual work and it will keep occurring. But the focus of this first one was in part to recognize some of the more upset, I don't know if upsetting is a good word, but significant events that have occurred in the community. And obviously the investigation is part of that. But also, you know, educating the students and also the staff on like, we really push this trusted adult. What is a trusted adult? Do you know what that is? Do you know what the purpose is? Do you have one? Right? Because that is really, I mean, for students and staff, like having a person that they trust, that they can go to, that may or may not be the person that is going to give them what they need, but can just, you know, support them in getting to that person. So what I mean is like if a teacher is a trusted adult, but they're not a social worker or counselor, right? So like that trusted adult knows where the resources are. Because I feel like if we want students to feel comfortable reporting things like this, we have to give them the venue to do so. So I think, you know, Mark sharing the information, and you know, I've shared the information about the investigation when somebody has approached me and it's felt appropriate to do so. That's someone being a student, right? But I think there's this important dialogue that has to occur within our community so that we're presenting it in a supportive way for everyone. And I think through that, I think we're more likely to get people that are comfortable coming forward with these sorts of things. So.
And I would just say that, you know, if people can be trained so that they know what to say when somebody discloses, because I think a lot of harm can happen inadvertently simply because people don't have the script or the verbiage, or they don't know exactly what to say when they're receiving a report. So that was my thought. Thank you.
Yep. And that's part of the consistent PD that we're doing with the staff that Ricky Davidson has very much taken the lead on.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And so now we're going to move on to the.
I'm sorry. The second part was just whether any data will be made available.
I don't know. I don't have any for you this evening, but I will keep that in. If some becomes available, then we will look at what we can. I don't have any this evening. I mean, that's the short answer. But I thank you for continuing to ask the questions. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much. So now we are moving to the administration report, curriculum development and assessment toolkit.
Okay, so it's very much a presentation. Our terrific curriculum and assessment team is here, including coordinators and coaches. Also want to share with the board that we've started with student climate surveys this week. Fall benchmark data meetings have just been completed. That'll be touched upon in the presentation today, but today's presentation is very much around professional development, policy D2, and curriculum development and coordination, policy G1. Given that, I'll turn it over to Bryn, Paul, team, and the rest of the group.
Thanks, Mark. So our goal today is to tell you a little bit of, and we'll maybe come up. Does that make sense? Since we have slides. A little bit about some of the exciting curriculum work that we're doing in the district this year. So we are in a multi-year implementation plan for our K-6 and some 7-8 schools with new math curriculum, with new literacy curriculum, and also trying to streamline some of our communication around assessment and teaching resources. So we're going to touch upon those 3 items for you today. And we'll do introductions just in case. I'm Bryn Tucker. I'm one of the 2 curriculum coordinators in the district. I'm Sophie Sawyer, the literacy coach.
I'm Lily Dufino, one of the math coaches. I'm Team BLC, the other math coach. and
I'm just the techie tonight.
So we'll start with math. Okay, so we have started last year in response to a lot of teachers being concerned about the program that we had been using before, which was Eureka Math, particularly in the primary grades. They didn't feel like it was necessarily developmentally appropriate or met the needs of their learners, particularly after COVID and the experiences students had then. Some of them requested they use something else. And so we gave all the teachers an opportunity to pilot this program called Illustrative Math.
It's a K through 12 program, and we did this with K through 6, gave them the opportunity to pilot. We thought it was a year right after the hybrid year that maybe we'd get like a handful of teachers, and I think it was over 40 teachers decided to pilot it. So it kind of moved us forward a little bit faster in our thinking. The reason we went with illustrative math is it is based on development. It's developing conceptual understanding of math, so that kids are actually understanding the math that they're doing. They're not just kind of memorizing procedures and going through it. They're applying math in a problem-based structure. So instead of it's like, watch me solve this problem, now copy my thinking and then practice enough until you remember. We know that doesn't work for the majority of our learners. It's think about this problem situation and how you might tackle it. And we know kids are going to tackle it different ways, and then kind of condensing that learning and thinking about what did you just learn in that situation. It's based on this body of research called the 5 practices, which is a way in which to increase student discourse, which the point of that is to kind of have students drive the learning and for them to have the real ownership and authorship of their learning. It's designed with UDL principles. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with UDL, Universal Design for Learning. Okay, so it's developed with that, which is provides access points to more of our learners. And there's deliberate connections between what's the math that you're actually doing and what does that look like in a diagram or a model or the situation that is presented. Academy, Oak Grove, Vernon, Green Street, Guilford are in full implementation this year and are doing all the units. Dummerston and Putney are either choosing to do all of the units or they might just be doing one. I think everyone is doing all of them except for maybe in one classroom in the district is fully implementing illustrative this year. You can go on to that.
See it.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't.
That would be exciting.
So the basic structure of a unit, most grade levels have between 8 and 9 units. The units are broken into sections. And then there are lessons within each of the sections. There are opportunities for formative assessment throughout the program. And then there are periodic assessments that can be stored in our data system so that we can look at students' growth over time and really see their learning journey through their data that we collect. I can go to the next one.
And just to clarify, Lily, when Lily's saying formative assessment, that means that as a teacher, I'm giving a quick assessment to my classroom to help inform what I'm going to teach next. So it's not like I taught this full unit and then at the end you either passed it or you failed it. The formative assessment checkpoints throughout allow teachers to be really responsive to the needs of the students in front of them.
The basic structure of a lesson is more or less the same. In kindergarten and first grade, it's a little bit different, but they all start with a warm-up, which is intended to be inclusive of all learners in their classroom. It's an entry point into the lesson and gets sort of the juices flowing around the concept or topic that we're going to talk about on a given day. There's always periodic opportunities throughout the lesson to synthesize the learning that's been happening, to ask, okay, so what was the big idea, what we were trying to make sense of here? And then there's always an opportunity to pull that together at the end. And then the younger grades, they also have opportunities to continue their learning and practice their learning through centers, which are predominantly games puzzles.
Grade 6 through 8 is just a little different. So instead of that's when you start practice problems. So if you think traditionally how we learned math, you sat down with 100 questions and just did them until you memorized it. Practice problems don't really start until 6th grade because we know that our younger students learn better through different learning opportunities and through discussing with each other and through play. There's a lot of research that shows that learning through play, kids understand information quicker and deeper than they do through rote memorization.
So this is the launch plan. So last year it was an option, and it was a very light launch. It was purely teacher choice, and we spent some time giving people some training, giving them the lay of the land, so that they could know where to find materials, where to find resources, and get into the program. And then that's all right. And then, like Jean said earlier, this year we have some schools that are in full implementation. They're doing all 8 or 9 units at their grade level. We are also offering professional development periodically throughout the year that's focused on the units, but then also on the larger instructional practices that exist at all the grade levels. And what's that last one? The support system. Yeah, focusing on the PD is focusing on the 5 practices specifically, which is a way to increase discourse in your classroom. That's okay. Next year, the schools that were not in full implementation this year will be in full implementation, and then all of the schools in the district will be implementing IM. And these are the different professional development offerings in math specifically that we've been providing for folks this year. So we've got our IM implementation. We also are doing the ongoing assessment project with our older students, our older grades teachers.
Yeah, so middle school actually has not had like a cohesive math training, like all together as a math team for at least a decade. So right now we're doing this learning that's from the ongoing assessment project, and it looks at kids' trajectory of learning around fractions and how they begin to develop their understanding of fractions, what that looks like, so that you can get in there and see where is the kids' understanding right now and what can I do to move them forward so that they're able to do that work with students. Fractions is one of the biggest keys kids need in order to access algebra and calculus later.
Are there questions? Maybe, are there questions about math before we launch into literacy? All right, let's launch.
All right. We're also implementing a new literacy program called EL, Expeditionary Learning. And it has lofty missions where it wants students and teachers to achieve their highest goals. And they really value student producing high quality work, habits of character, and embed that social emotional learning in the program. Go ahead, Paul. So they want classrooms where students smile as they come in, and then require students to do that high quality work. That's kind of the embedded, and similar to the IM math curriculum, there is a lot of conversation and discourse between students around authentic engaging text. That's kind of the crux of it. Each program is broken up at each grade level, is broken into 4 modules that last approximately 8 to 9 weeks. And then within each module, there are 3 units. There's also assessment opportunities embedded within each unit, culminating in a performance task at the end of the module, where students are producing high quality work again, some kind of project-based learning piece at the end of each module. Each lesson is built around the 4 T's they refer to it: topic, task, target, and texts. And then again, it's that embedding those student mastery of knowledge and skills, habits of character, and high quality student work are the foundation of every lesson.
Sure. So it's a lofty goal, as we're all coming back into a quote unquote normal school year, to be implementing 2 new programs across the district. Just like we differentiate learning for our students, we're trying to do a similar thing for our teachers, to take a step in to give support and also confidence, and know that it takes time. Implementation science often tells us 3 to 5 years before you can really fully implement a program where you're fully moving forward with it. So we have, again, a multi-year goal for the literacy program that's being tried out this year. And we forgot to mention, this was also piloted last year. The main curriculum that was being used in many of our schools was being discontinued and actually had been very poorly rated by ed reports in terms of equity, the test levels. So we really needed to find a different solution. There was a similar story where some teachers tried out this curriculum and kept asking for more. So anyway, these folks mentioned that some schools are primarily working on math implementation. So schools that are really focused on math implementation this year are trying out 1 module of the new literacy program. Next year, that'll expand to 3 modules and then eventually the full program. Conversely, Putney and Dummerston this year, and honestly, many other teachers in other schools as well, are trying out with the goal of 3 modules this year, moving to full implementation and then continuing on. So we're trying to be very clear and transparent that this is a process. No one is expecting teachers to like hit the ground running and do it all perfectly right away. And it's being very intentional that we are providing that support for folks, teachers and students, honestly, because it's new ways of thinking and looking at text and math. So we're developing those processes with kids. So some challenges are there are multiple new programs that we're embarking on this year. We have lots of professional development opportunities set up where teachers can come together across schools to do some of this work together. We're getting great feedback from teachers about that opportunity. However, it's really challenging to find substitute teachers to cover the classes. So we're doing some creative problem solving and some tweaking of our professional development schedule to try to accommodate for that. And it's just a lift to learn new materials and routines. So those are some of our challenges. I think some opportunities is that for the first time, and we've heard this from folks, it is so nice if I'm in a single strand school to go talk to other second grade teachers across the district and learn what they're doing, both with these curricula and how you do a transition or where you find a cool dice game that I didn't think of. There's spiraling of the curriculum, so our kids are getting better at understanding how to use some of these processes. There's a lot of focus on rich, complex text and helping support students access that. So as students are coming in with a variety of learning needs post-COVID, there's that idea of like, we're not just going to keep bringing this lower for the least common denominator, we're going to lift everyone up so all kids can experience complex text and really rich thinking and community. And we're working with Michaela and Shannon in our Equity and Social Justice office to really examine our sources with a critical eye and support teachers looking at the texts that are embedded in this to really deepen our knowledge and practice with that. So I have a quick vignette to read. Amanda Paradise is a second grade teacher at Academy School. And she cannot be here, but she really wanted to share something with you about trying out this curriculum in her classroom this year. So good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Paradise, and mine's not good. I am currently a second grade teacher at Academy, and I love, all caps, teaching literacy. It has always been a passion of mine. When I heard that we were piloting a new curriculum, EL, I jumped right in ready to try it. As I taught the first 2 lessons, I had some hesitancy about what I was doing, but I knew I was going to keep pushing through. I couldn't be happier that I decided to trust the lessons and all the parts that come with that. I want to tell you a story about a student of mine in our journey through EL. At the beginning of the year, I was doing lots of read alouds to build classroom community. And I noticed that this particular student would have difficulty assessing the read aloud. In EL, they work a lot with rich stories to use for read alouds. I sat each night and prepped all the questions and activities associated with the stories. It is a time consuming with it being the first year of implementation. And again, we asked ourselves in the moment, is this worth it? The answer was, all caps, yes. As I am reading the dot for a second time, because this curriculum has you reread stories multiple times, and I'm asking difficult questions that require you to look beyond the surface, my student, who had not been able to access other stories, raises her hand with confidence and answers an inferential question about the text correctly. Second grader. I could see that she understood the story and the messages embedded within. My heart grew so big as I realized that this curriculum skillfully scaffolded each lesson so all learners can truly access the learning. Skip forward a few weeks and the student was able to complete the written unit assessment that asked her to name how a character was feeling, find textual evidence to support her answer, identify the action that made the character feel that way, and describe how the author chose to show this theme throughout the book. EL is demanding and expectations are high, but the reward for me is so worth it. Second graders are writing, reading, and comprehending complex tasks with confidence. Students are encouraged to write almost every day in this program, and when you stick with it, and the 30 minutes it takes the first few times to get through a written response, you see a few weeks later that the students take on a writing task with confidence and ease. They are able to complete that task that used to take them 30 minutes and now do it within 10. That's huge.
I am excited to keep going with the curriculum and see how far it will take my students. At the end of this module, they get to create a book and they can't wait. So Amanda did a professional development session with us and she was like, I drank the Kool-Aid. I wasn't sure. But here's for whom we're seeing it's really paying off. So it's a lot of work. Our teachers are putting in so much work and it is a really heavy lift to ask of teachers in schools, but I'm really hoping that we will continue to have opportunities for teachers to work together and share stories like these from their classrooms. And we'll learn which parts work and which parts need tweaking for our students here. That's kind of a summary of the EL literacy curriculum that we're working on implementing. There's also a little movie here. And I think maybe what we will do with this, we'd love to email you this link so you could watch it. This is a movie from Beth Montgomery, first grade at Dummerston, who piloted the curriculum last year and also is a huge champion of this. It's the most adorable video that she made of her students with their performance task. They read a picture book about making a magnificent thing. They study tools, they study habits of character, and then they created their own magnificent things to help make their classroom community better. So we will be sure to share that link with you so you can check it out. It's adorable. Absolutely adorable.
I will say with both programs, I think something that's important is they both really focus on students becoming better critical thinkers. And I think that's a shift in some ways in education, because oftentimes in growing up, you were told, like, the teacher told you what to do, what they said was correct. And this really has kids question what they're learning and think deeply and think about things from different perspectives. And I think those are the learners and the people we want in our communities. So I think it's just an exciting opportunity to have programs that really support that type of thinking and learning.
Questions about EL?
Yes. Anyone online or?
I will say generally, first, thank you so much for your patience waiting for us. Incredible. Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation, and I think it's just way too important, at least for me. I think my colleagues feel this, for just a one presentation night. I would love to hear more. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how it's working in maybe a month or 2 months, giving us data, assessment data, so we can answer that key question: how are our students doing academically in math and literacy?
Yeah.
Broad data.
And we're definitely, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but we're definitely paying very close attention to that as we implement systems and programs to help support our students. And we definitely have some short-term data, like, this anecdotal data that Amanda shared. And certainly what happens with implementation science is that it's not just a month or a couple months, but it's often a year or a couple years before we really learn the routines and see that paying off. And so it's something that we're paying attention to and collecting metrics in the short term, but also have to have our focus on the long term too, as we dive in. And I think it's probably amplified too with COVID having been a consideration a year and a half ago, that kids had a disruption in their learning that they didn't necessarily have in years past.
Yeah, so I know on our board calendar, agenda calendar in November, we'll be presenting on some data updates. And we did keep in mind, Sam, as we created these agenda items, to circle back to presentations that we start the year with. So it's essential element of this planning document.
I was just wondering, in that literacy curriculum, is it, are the texts and books prescribed by the curriculum, or is it just the structure and then the teacher chooses which books and things to read?
Probably both. So the 4 modules that Stacey explained that are a deep dive are centered around a central text that is, the resources are gathered by the curriculum. And then in conjunction with that, there are recommended resources that are a procured list or of recommendations really of aligned texts and topics that teachers could choose from. I'm definitely hearing lots of teachers also saying, like, my librarian has become my best friend, because there are so many great resources in classroom libraries and school libraries already. And I know Shannon Kelly, our equity social justice coach has also been doing a lot of work in classroom libraries, helping to make sure that they're appropriate and representative. And so that's a lot of the work that we're doing with them. But yeah, the main 4 modules are centered around a central text with opportunity to bring in other texts, readings, and follow areas of student interest.
And part of the work through Shannon is to drive purchasing of more books to add to classroom libraries in conjunction with the DEI department and the curriculum assessment department, so that we're getting more rich opportunities that are more representative of our schools.
Something teachers are, a lot of teachers sound pretty excited about is they opened up their materials this summer and they're real books, like real beautiful, juicy books. Our former universal literacy curriculum was more of a collection of portions of books in a textbook. And so these are really beautiful books that are entering into classrooms. And many of them, not all, but the majority are aligned to social studies and science topics. So they could be either just explored during the literacy block, or it could be a jumping off point for a deeper integrated science and social studies scheme in the classroom. So Tim, you're asking about assessment, and the third thing we quickly wanted to give a little bit of a preview about, and we can certainly cycle back to this in future meetings, is a tool that we updated this summer, which is our teaching and assessment toolkit. So we had documents like this, a collection of documents that was more of a PDF format that was a resource for teachers. But there was a team that worked extensively last spring and over the summer across various departments to update this to be a resource for teachers for assessment guidelines, and also links to, okay, I got some data about my students now. How do I use that data to support what's happening in our classrooms? So Paula, if you'll advance the slide, a lot of this document centers around the idea of multi-layered system of support. So instead of thinking like a triangle and I'm just the bottom chunk, or someone is the middle chunk of the triangle, the idea here is that everyone has access to really quality universal core instruction. And we do some quick and easy kind of benchmark assessments to check in on how is everyone in the whole class doing, and who might be at risk or needing some more information to support a little bit more intensive layer of instruction. So everybody has access to rich instruction. For some students, layered onto that might be a little bit more support. And that might be behaviorally, it might be academically, it might be reading, it might be math, it might be both. And we want to really pinpoint what specifically might they need support with. What might they need enrichment with? What exactly does every learner need, which might be another layer of support. And then thinking that for some students, they may need really continued ongoing supports to still continue to access that really rich text and math programs that they might experience in their classrooms. So we're thinking really about multi-layers of support for our students, meeting them just in time for what they need, and continually assessing what kind of practices we are doing to help support them and get the kind of growth and success that, you know, kids and teachers and families are all hoping for. So a lot of this document, and I don't know how many pages it is, 60, 70-ish. It's on slide, it's all clickable, it's navigable. But it's all centered around this idea of how do we provide richness for everyone and additional layers for those who need. Thank you so much. I know you can't read this from where you are, but this is a sample of a page that a kindergarten teacher might use. There are hyperlinks throughout that document that link the teacher directly to the PDF or the online assessment system they might use, to the data collection system online that they might put the results into, what the target scores might be for the fall, winter, spring assessment windows, and some layers that they can use for universal assessment for everyone, a little bit more diagnostic assessment for some. Crosswalk with that are linked to our priority standards, and also some program resources within that document. There are sections in there for our Equity Social Justice Office. There are sections in there for math and literacy resources, science and social studies frameworks. Since we rolled this out to schools in August and early September, it was really fun because a lot of teachers gave great feedback. Like, you know what else would be helpful in there? Or I developed this tool if you want to add it. So it has really become this collaborative document that's a living document that we can use expertise in the field to share out to a wider audience. So we were joking that we can put on the things, it's in the toolkit, like make a t-shirt. That's so cool. Just today, I think I was meeting with Paul and we were trying to look up a PD schedule and I opened the toolkit and linked to it. He's like, did you just get there from the toolkit? I said, yes, I did. So even as one of the team who helped develop this, I am using this as an essential tool of, I know where to find that because it's in the toolkit. So we can share more about this as we need as well, but this is kind of the framework that's guiding a lot of our assessment and then response to assessment. And we went to all the schools and rolled this out in the fall, and we asked folks after, is it a user-friendly resource and will it take you time searching? And these were our survey results, which are very, very positive. I being highly favorable. So that's just some of the work that we've been doing. Curriculum Assessment Office. Yeah, and we look forward to doing more throughout the year.
Amazing work. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, as somebody who will see these students in the coming years, thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, so super impressive, exciting, innovative work that we have going on right now. And it's a pleasure to be able to highlight it with the school board and the school community. Always feel free to jump in too from the principal perspective. Another thing I wanted to share with the admin report is I've shared this multiple times already at the Vernon board meeting and the SU board meeting is I've developed a format for supervision and evaluation of administrators. I've made a packet for all of you. In this packet is also included my own professional goals, which I've already shared, another opportunity to share those with you, and the board agenda calendar that we've been working on in terms of providing information to this all three boards and the community. So I know it's getting late, not going to dig into it, but I'll hand these out at the end and I can share electronic copies with folks who are not here as well. That's the admin report.
So you know, we have a fiscal report, or are we, Sean, did you have anything that you?
I think it'd be important to mention that Frank has put out a budget development timeline. And it was, Barb just sent the revised edition of that today. And, you know, I sort of just made a timeline of my own from that. And it's going to be, you know, we'll be deeply involved in that. And all the administrators and, you know, everybody's going to get together and working on the budget. And hopefully it'll all culminate in March, on March 7th.
There you go.
Which is a public meeting.
Okay, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess we'll move on to new business. Superintendent 360 evaluation. I believe I sent to the board the rubric that it's going to be involved in that. And I did get, I assume the other board members got an email from the VSBA in regards to that, because we will all be weighing in. But I wanted to ask Carrie if she would like to address this topic any further from the.
So from the point of the SU, yes, board members should have all gotten today an email from Carrie Lamb from the VSBA, and it gives you the Survey Monkey link that you will need to do your 360 evaluation of Mark. Administrators should have gotten that as well. So those are the two groups. Mark will also be doing a self-evaluation. You have, I believe, until November 4th. So you've got 10 days. So if you can all put aside a little bit of time to dig into it. It covers a lot of territory, which is good. That's why it's a 360. Board and superintendent relationship, policy, community relations, operation management and leadership, instructional leadership, So those are some of the topics. If you are not comfortable in answering something, certainly if you're an administrator, you might not know about superintendent board relations. That's fine. It'll tell you how to just say not applicable. So give us your honest feedback. After November 4th, the VSBA will give us a report, and then we'll do some conversations with Mark and his mentor and the SU board. And we'll go from there. But this is one great way to give us a baseline. This was developed a couple of years ago, I think, 2018, maybe 2019, when we were doing an evaluation of Lyle Holiday at the time. And it's built directly off of the job description. So we're looking at the job that the superintendent is supposed to do, and we're going to evaluate the superintendent on that. We can then look for areas to do goals and priorities and what we want to work on next. But set some time aside and give us your full evaluation.
Carrie, just a clarification, are we getting the same?
You are everyone
Okay.
is getting the exact same.
Because we started to look at it and we're like, I think the board should have this one.
Right, and you're,
Okay.
yeah, so if you start with the board superintendent relationship, you might be like, board development.
Yeah, okay.
It's fine. Thanks. I think you also answer how you're answering, I'm an administrator or I'm a board member, and that will factor into the results that we get. Thanks.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Do any of the board members have any questions or? Okay, anyone else have questions, or can we? Okay, we will move on. So the next item on the agenda is board representation for Brattleboro. So I make a motion to accept with extreme regret David Scholl's resignation from the WSESD board. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne. All those in favor of accepting David's resignation from the WSESD board, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, David. So now we move on to the appointment of the to the, it says SU, but it's, I guess I'm not past board representation. So the statutory language requires the select board of Brattleboro to be notified, and within 30 days after providing notice, and after consultation with the select board, the Unified Union School District Board shall appoint an eligible person to fill the vacancy until the voters elect a successor at an annual or special meeting. The notice has gone to the select board today. So I believe the 30 days brings us to November 30th for us to make that selection. And I believe in the past, what they've done is people have submitted letters of interest or letters of intent to fill the position, and that would be until March, when there would be a special election for the remainder of David's term. So I guess we would, I expect that we will be putting that out in newspapers.
Yes, Barb has put together an advertisement. We will distribute that through, various publications and also through social media as well. So that'll start this week.
Then
Sure. Sure. Ricky?
Thank you. So I don't recall if during the last election for the school board, if there was an opponent or any candidate that was either on the ballot or a write-in, and if they would get any consideration for filling in, especially if they had people already vote for them. And did you say that the letters of interest are supposed to go to both the school board and the select board?
No, I believe they go to address to me, but I believe that they would be sent to the supervisory union office.
Yeah, they go to Barb Nowakowski. And the letter of intent to express interest would be addressed to Ms. Young Kelly as the board chair.
So
And
who was the other person? Kelly Young and
Barb Nowakowski, superintendent, executive assistant.
so is there any answer to the first part of my question?
That would not be a consideration. Essentially, now we're at a point where there's an open seat and it is open for anyone in the community.
in Brattleboro.
In Brattleboro, to share their interest. And then the board would have to develop a process for choosing the representative, the next representative until March.
When was the last time something like that has happened?
I believe there was a couple, there was one from, I thought, maybe. Was it Tim?
No, he had to be replaced on the SU board, but he completed his school term.
There was one, since the merger, I believe there has been one person who very quickly after being elected determined that they did not want to serve. And so I believe that that happened, but I think it was very quickly after they had been elected. I can't, maybe Sean has some more information.
Well, I was just going to say in the early 2000s, there was an individual from Guilford who left the District 6 board. And then I was approached and asked to write a letter of intent. And actually the select board in the town of Guilford, I believe, appointed me for the rest of the term.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Ruby.
Ruby?
Hi, Ruby McAdoo, Putney. So I have a question and then a follow-up question, so I'll just ask them all at once. My first is, just so that I'm completely clear and understand this, because we're saying the word select board without saying Brattleboro in front of it. So you're saying that the Brattleboro Select Board will appoint someone to fill the term until there's an election in the spring. That's what I'm understanding. And I guess my follow-up question to that is, where is this process laid out in terms of open seats and what the process is for appointment? It's that I don't think you have bylaws. I think that there's like the articles. I'm just wondering how you're coming to this process, because I'm a little confused as a Putney resident, where this board serves the entire, this isn't just a Brattleboro board. And so a Brattleboro person is representing all of us. So I'm wondering, does this mean that I would need to somehow I don't have any voice in a Brattleboro Select Board? And
so can I just, first of all, it's not, the Brattleboro Select Board just had to be notified. They had to be notified that this was, like, if it was Putney, the Putney Select Board would have to be notified. So I don't have I can't cite the specific where where this was pulled from, but I will certainly make an effort to.
It's pulled from state statute, which we did review with our school attorney this morning to verify that that is the correct process, which it is. So we have informed the select board, and we'll begin advertising, and this school board will make the selection based on however many people intend to apply. This board would actually make the decision based on like an interview process.
That's really helpful. I think it would be helpful from my perspective to understand where in the state statute it is, or just be pointed to what it is.
Send me an email, Ruby, and I'll forward it on to you.
Thank you.
One more correction. The interim person would be filling in until March 2024. That's what-
No. They would be filling in until this coming March, and I believe David would have one more year on his term. So when other board members who would otherwise be up for election in 2023, this person, whoever would like to be considered for this last year of David's term would run for election during the time period for anyone who would otherwise be up for election during that time period. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so now we will move on from that to representative to the WSESU board. Would we like to elect someone this evening to be the additional person?
May I recommend that we make a motion to extend the meeting? It's 9:04.
Thank you very much, Lana. Is there a motion to extend the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of extending the meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have extended the meeting. So are we, is there a motion to appoint a particular person to the WSESU board from Brattleboro?
Yes, I would like to nominate Emily Murphy-Carr.
Okay. Emily, would you be willing to serve on the WSESU board?
I don't think she's here anymore.
Okay. Are they board members?
One is two hands up now. Michelle's hand is up.
Okay. Is there I'm not sure.
How can I help?
Can go forward with if we don't know that Emily's. Michelle?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's appropriate to be nominating someone for the SU board tonight when we know that we'll have a full representation in 30 days. There's no large action being taken on the SU. The work has been done. We're going into budget season, and it seems like a disservice to citizens to not have our options when we do that. I feel like we should be waiting until we have all 4 representatives from Brattleboro.
Okay, does anyone else on the board have a response to Michelle's comment?
Deborah has a hand.
Deborah?
I have a hand up because I would like to continue the process of nominations.
Okay, so procedurally, where do we start?
Michelle's statement is, it's a suggestion, it's not a rule.
Okay. So we have had Sean has nominated Emily.
Since Emily's not here to respond, I would withdraw that nomination. And I also agree with Michelle that it might be better to, just have it as status quo for a small period of time.
Jackie Reynolds has a hand.
Well, wait, I want to hear from all board members first. Tim, do you have a particular?
No.
Okay.
Late at night, we could always wait till the next meeting.
Okay, so
Lana has a hand.
Lana,
Yeah, I would like to nominate Tim.
is there a second?
Yes, I second. I was going to make a nomination, so I was waiting for a decision on that. But yes, I certainly second that nomination.
Okay, so it's been, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion in regards to nominating Tim for the WSESU board?
Michelle has a hand up.
Sure, Michelle.
Yeah, I find it especially problematic that we rescinded Emily's nomination just because she's not present to accept or not.
And then we're moving on to, so now we're down to 2 people that we're choosing between. This doesn't feel appropriate. I think that we should be pausing and making sure that this is the best steps forward, best practice.
Okay, so Lana, you made the motion. She can withdraw, can she?
Yes, she can.
Are you willing to withdraw the motion until the next board meeting?
If that's what the board desires, then sure.
Okay, can we vote on that? Do we just?
I don't think we need to vote on it. We can just table it until next time.
Okay, so then we will table the vote on electing Tim as the SU.
No, electing anybody.
Electing anyone, sorry, it's late. Electing anyone to the WSESU board until the next meeting. And I will send out an email to all board members, letting them know that that's going to be, making sure it's completely clear that that's going to be on the agenda.
Jackie still has.
Sure, Jackie.
I'm so sorry, technical difficulties. Thank you for tabling the motion until another Brattleboro representative is identified. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, so we are moving on to almost our last thing. The appointment of the 2022-2023 Leadership Council members. Barb sent out a list. And did you want to go through them or?
Maybe we could just appoint the membership as presented on the list.
Okay, so is there a motion to appoint the Leadership Council members as listed for BAMS, BUHS Academy School, Green Street, Oak Grove, Dummerston School, Guilford Central School, and Putney Central School to the leadership councils? Is there a motion?
I'm a little confused by one thing.
Yep.
Is there another Michelle Green at Dummerston?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's. I was confused about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so should it appears that Michelle, you are on the leadership council from the board, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion to accept the names on the leadership council list with the deletion of Michelle Green as a parent from Dummerston School as she is on the WSESD board? Is there a motion?
I have a question because Tim was also listed on that. So there are only 2 board members that are listed on the whole list. And I sort of questioned it when I read it. Should the board members be voted as members of the leadership council? Because they're not actually members of the leadership council. They attend the meetings, but they're not in the membership.
That is a very good point, Sean. So I'll ask this again. Is there a motion to appoint the members, the individuals on the list for those schools with the deletion of Michelle Green from Dummerston School and Tim Maciel from BUHS? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Anne. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, so there is that. And then the last thing is, I move the board enter into executive session to, and I don't have the statute for the personnel, the student.
To discuss the student matter?
To discuss the student matter.
Please stand by. 1 VSA 313.
Under 1 VSA 313.
Have to find the students on the list.
A.
I know, I'm not.
It takes a village.
I know. Seven.
A7.
E. 313A. Is that it?
Yes. 313.
Okay, 1313 A7. To discuss a personnel issue involving board directors and student representatives, specifically the assignment of a mentor to a student representative. Is there a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Anne. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. All those in favor of entering executive session under the statute just listed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Thank you very much. So now we need to have a roll call. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Sean, Ann, Tim, and who online, who was?
Liz, Deborah, and Lon.
Liz, Deborah, and Lana. And
Chair,
yes,
how did these members vote?
they all in
In
favor.
favor.
Thank you.
And abstaining or opposed?
Michelle's abstaining.
Michelle, you were abstaining or opposing?
I was abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, so then Michelle was abstaining. So then we are going into executive session at 9:15.
Madam Chair, for the benefit of the public, are there any anticipated action?
So what I would say is, when we come out of executive session, we may or may not be taking action. This can't be determined at this moment. But hopefully it will be I know I said this before.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, but yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do you want me to stick around?
Okay. So we are back from executive session at 9:30. It was 9:33 when we exited executive session. And there is to be no action taken. Thank you very much for everyone who has participated and or is watching later on. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, there being no further business before this board, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Liz. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We are adjourned at 9:35.